The desire to strengthen North America's global clout. The push for a more effective security perimeter. The idea of sharing energy and natural resources without losing sovereignty. All this will take years to negotiate. And that's a good thing, says James Clark, who believes time is on his side.
We see this as the first step of a longer-term mobilization. We're not going to change the minds of these leaders necessarily overnight, and it's not actually their minds we're interested in changing. It's the minds of ordinary people across this country, because governments come and go based on the popular will of their own populations.
And this is a very far-reaching proposal that has had almost no public debate, no discussion, very little media, and no public oversight, no parliamentary oversight. And we think that just on that alone, the process should be stopped immediately.
People in Linamar couldn't disagree more. They've already seen some benefits from the Security and Prosperity Partnership, which makes getting their auto parts across the border a whole lot faster. CEO Linda Hasenfratz.
So we've been pre-qualified as a trusted exporter, so that way we can go to the fast lanes. You know, they're designated as FAST, and you know your goods can go through there much more quickly, not have to wait in the big queue of traffic. So you know, we're definitely utilizing those programs and find them effective.
When the summit wraps up tomorrow, bureaucrats and business leaders will continue working busily behind the scenes. And while a broad and increasingly powerful array of groups is saying they want to have their voices heard, it's unlikely they could derail negotiations, although they certainly could slow them down. Joan Leishman, CBC News, Toronto.
So as we just heard, plenty of concerns over the Security and Prosperity Partnership. Well, two people who know the ins and outs of Canada's relationship with the United States join us now. In Toronto, Alan Gottlieb, former Canadian ambassador to the U.S., and in Washington, James Blanchard, former governor of Michigan and former U.S. ambassador to Canada. Gentlemen, welcome.
Welcome. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Governor Blanchard, let's begin with you. How much attention and coverage is this meeting getting in the United States?
Well, probably not enough. I just saw one brief news clip on CNN here. Probably not enough. I don't think enough attention is paid to our relationship with Canada, with the cooperation we've had for many decades, the importance to the U.S., whether it's air quality, water quality, energy, security, the economy. Of course, Canada is America's largest trading partner. So it's never enough attention, and I think that any time our two leaders get together and have some time together, it's a good thing for our people. So I would encourage it, and I know there's some that are concerned about it, but I'm not. I think they need to spend a lot of time together and have a meeting of minds and get to know each other better. Well, some are concerned about it for sure. I've been reading some of the comments made to call-in shows in the United States, to columnists in the U.S. as well. There's certainly a group of Americans who feel very strongly about these kinds of summits and worry, as I understand it, about how they may be eroding U.S. sovereignty. Yeah, and I think it's really, I just find that comical. The average American, trust me, has a lot of confidence in Canada, views Canada as our closest ally. Whether whoever's president, whoever's prime minister, it's just that simple. It's probably true that a lot of Americans don't know how dependent we are on Canada economically and also energy. But I find it crazy when we're dealing with a very dangerous world that our closest ally and our most important partner in every respect that I can think of would be viewed by anyone as a threat to American sovereignty. I can understand why some of the Canadians might worry about it because of our size and our wealth, and the Mexicans. But I don't feel, in the world we deal with, that the North American partnership that we have could be a threat to anything. Actually, it's a good thing as we deal with a very dangerous world and with other trading blocs that have now gathered up. Alan Gottlieb, what about the people in Canada? We heard some of them already in Joan's piece who are concerned, perhaps because of the size of the United States, about the erosion of Canadian sovereignty.
Well, it's curious that you have in the United States some Americans concerned about the loss of their sovereignty to little Canada, and we're worried here in Canada, some people are, about the loss of our sovereignty to big United States. Frankly, I think there is a whiff, or more than a whiff, of the 19th century about the reaction of these people we're talking about. In their stress on sovereignty and that type of thing, they would not even be progressives by 19th century standards. We're living in a different era where the well-being of people depends upon their cooperation and their solving problems together. I think there's a sort of romantic retro view of people who think, oh, let's bring the old days back. And it's, you know, I think it's rather sad, and I don't think it's very deep or widespread in either country from what I could read about or know.
One of the great concerns that's raised by the critics on both sides of the border, as I understand it, is about what might be happening behind closed doors. And that seems to be fueling a lot of the emotion. Both of you have been behind those closed doors as former ambassadors representing your country. And Governor, let me begin with you. Give us an educated guess, a tour of what might be happening right now.
Well, my guess is the leaders are continuing to get to know each other. They're probably swapping political stories and personal stories and family stories. Yes, their lieutenants have an agenda they're going to talk about. They're probably talking about everything from I hope, making the border smoother and faster between Detroit and Windsor, to trade, to Afghanistan, they may be talking a little bit about the Arctic. I assume they're going to be talking about environmental quality and stability in the financial markets. But I really think the key thing is for them to get to know each other and continue to send the signals to the people in our governments and the American and Canadian people that we're working together. This is a partnership that works. It has nothing to do with our sovereignty. We are dependent upon each other, and I couldn't agree more with what Alan Gottlieb said, especially being from Michigan, where the people of Michigan, you know, we view Canada as a great friend and partner and ally. We don't like roadblocks between our two peoples, whether it's attending university, swimming in the Great Lakes, or going over to Toronto for a theater or Windsor for a dinner. We don't like roadblocks, and we don't like people who are trying to suggest that Canada is a problem for us. Canada is a solution for many of our problems.
Must warm your heart, Mr. Gottlieb, to hear that, although I know you won't be surprised to hear it from Governor Blanchard.
Yeah.
We have just a half a minute, but let me ask you this. Will anything dramatic come out of this summit? Will anything significant come out of it? Well,
that is the key question. And I consider myself to be somewhat of a critic of the process, not because it's happening behind closed doors. The idea of negotiating on national television is ridiculous. But I feel myself that this process has been too slow, and I think it needs more aggressive leadership on the part of all the leaders. We know that they have other preoccupations, but the fact is that without personal leadership and without placing the resolution of these issues, like this thickening of our border, which is a terrible thing to be happening, without their personal leadership and drive, it's going to be lost results will be lost in a bureaucratic morass. So I'd like to see more done, and I'd like to see a higher priority. The danger is that not enough will happen, not that too much will happen.
Alan Gottlieb, James Blanchard, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.